He's boycotting Israel on an international level. And for more on this, let's bring in the president and the CEO of the Center for Security Policy and the former chief of staff with the National Security Council, Fred Fleitz, and the host of the Yair Netanyahu Show and international relations analyst, Yair Netanyahu. So, Fred, let's start with you. These boycotts, they allegedly come from the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, also known as the BDS movement. Supporters say that it's a way to exert influence. Critics say that it borders on anti-Semitism. Where do you stand on that debate?
Let's be clear. This has nothing to do with Palestinian rights. This has nothing to do with a separate Palestinian state. This is an effort by the left to do away with the Jewish state of Israel. That's its purpose. This is the new anti-Semitism. It is growing on the left. It is growing in the Democratic Party. And I think it is crucial that everyone speak out against this. Republicans, Democrats, the news media. It is a real threat to the Jewish people and our strong ally, Israel.
And Yair, building on this common trend of corporations getting involved in politics, a group of anonymous Amazon employees, they've penned an op-ed slamming their employer for a recent contract with Israel and then calling on the company to pull out of that project altogether. So could this actually impact Israel's economy if more companies such as Amazon or Ben & Jerry's do follow through on these boycotts?
Well, Israel is the biggest center of startup hub after Silicon Valley in the world. So I think they'll find it a little bit complicated. Israeli tech is found on almost every app and every iPhone and a lot of medicines and research of cancers, etc. So, I bet they won't boycott this kind of stuff. It's absurd, singling out the only Jewish state in the world, which is also the only democracy and liberal democracy in the Middle East. It's completely anti-Semitism, especially when they don't do so in a dictatorship like Qatar that finance terrorism around the world. They don't have any problem with disputed areas around the world, such as occupied North Cyprus or Western Sahara or other places. So this is completely, this is pure anti-Semitism.
And it's not only that they don't call out other countries, but they don't call out other corporations. Google, for example, operating in China, censoring some unfavorable articles that have to do with the Uyghur Muslims, things of that nature. So that's really where the debate comes into play. But then, Fred, as Afghanistan, they faces a near collapse as of right now, of course, following the withdrawal. And now the Taliban is pressing the Biden administration to unfreeze roughly $8 billion in Afghan foreign reserves. So how do you expect the coming months, I know it's a loaded question, to play out following our withdrawal and now the war-torn nation?
Well, Afghanistan is in huge trouble. Its economy was dependent on foreign aid. Almost all of it has been cut off. The European Union pledged $1 billion recently, but that is not nearly enough to bring this economy back. And Afghanistan has changed. Over the last 20 years, people have moved to cities. The population has actually grown. They can't support themselves anymore. They're no longer they're still a rural country, but not nearly as rural as they were. We're looking at a humanitarian catastrophe in this country. I just don't see an easy solution.
And, of course, that's the fear that a lot of people have, whether it was Iraq initially or Afghanistan now, but a vacuum taking place, other countries moving in. And Iran is one of those countries that's going to try to exert its influence right there. So, Yair, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is warning that time is running out for a return to the nuclear deal, while Israel's Foreign Minister Yair Lapid speaking about the other options if diplomacy fails to curtail Iran's nuclear program. So could we see some sort of military action either from Israel or some type of exchanges with Israel and Iran?
I think that returning for the agreement, the nuclear agreement, doesn't prevent war. It guarantees war in the future, with Iran being a nuclear power, which is a grave threat both for Israel and for the United States. Iran is building intercontinental missiles that could reach to the east coast of the United States. I think that it's very dangerous. And when we take it into account, it's not either a deal or a war. It's either a good deal or a bad deal.
And, of course, other European countries are looking at that as well because Iran isn't living up to its end of the deal. I mean, we can talk about the United States, the negotiations, but enrichment capabilities are increasing in Iran. They're not living up to their end of the agreement, so people are asking, why should the United States? So I think it's something to keep an eye on. But thank you, Fred Fleitz, Yair Netanyahu.